Welcome in, travelers, to a very special explainer. I'm your host, but tonight, well, I invite you to think of me as the sinister broadcaster. You've kind of stumbled onto a hidden frequency, right? A cursed wavelength broadcasting from a place that literally doesn't exist on any map. Welcome to the Midnight Signal. We're about to dissect a seriously harrowing tale of survival, or, the lack of it. So let's dive right into the heart of the darkness and examine the chilling architecture of a nightmare.
To really understand this story, we've got to look at our narrator. Just picture it, these demonic, glowing red eyes piercing right through a dark hood, and skeletal, clawed hands gripping this old-school broadcasting microphone. This isn't just a storyteller. This is a harvester of final moments. The broadcaster basically intercepts the desperate, fading signals of doomed travelers who wander way too far off the beaten path and get themselves trapped in Scary Town. Today we're going to reconstruct the final hours of one of those unlucky travelers using the terrifying evidence intercepted by this very entity.
The atmosphere here is just immediately hostile. You've tuned in to the Midnight Signal. Lock your doors, turn off the lights, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. It's such a classic, brilliant hook, isn't it? It completely shatters the fourth wall and pulls us directly into this high-stakes survival horror. We aren't just sitting back observing this explainer, we're actively participating in it. The threat feels immediate to us. But for our traveler, the threat wasn't just a feeling. It was a very real physical place.
All right, Section 1, City of Ruined Metal.
So our traveler's journey kicks off under this perpetually dark, oppressive sky. You've got these jagged silhouettes of ruined skyscrapers piercing the clouds almost like broken teeth. The streets are slick with this unknown wetness that reflects a really pale, unnatural light. And then you see the abandoned cars left rotting right in the middle of the road. It heavily implies that whatever happened here happened fast and absolutely nobody got out. It's the ultimate post-apocalyptic atmosphere, and it immediately screams to our traveler, you are entirely alone and no help is coming. Let's actually map out the traveler's chronological descent into panic, because the pacing of horror is incredibly structural. Right at midnight, we have the arrival in the ruins. Pure confusion. By 2 a.m., the environment turns actively hostile. A thick, suffocating fog rolls in, completely killing visibility and isolating the traveler even more. And then 3 a.m. hits, the witching hour, the inevitable moment when the town reveals it isn't quite as empty as it seemed. The dread just methodically escalates before the actual threat even shows its face.
Section 2, The Woman in White.
Notice the terrifying juxtaposition of these environments. Out in the open, we have the pale woman in white standing completely still on an isolated, fog-drenched road under a single street lamp. There's a rusted sign nearby reading, "Turn back now," a warning that obviously comes way too late. But then, she simultaneously manifests indoors, right at the end of a claustrophobic, decaying hallway. It really brilliantly illustrates the inescapable nature of Scary Town. Whether you're out in the open or trying to barricade yourself inside, there's absolutely nowhere to hide. The normal rules of physical space? Yeah, they simply do not apply to her.
Section 3. The Hospital of Horrors.
Desperation makes people do some pretty foolish things, and seeking shelter in this place was a fatal error. The traveler pushes through these rusted doors into an abandoned hospital ward. You got empty beds lined up in the dark, peeling paint, grime everywhere. But the absolute terror hits when you look toward the back wall. The ward isn't empty. The pale figure of the woman in white is already there, standing completely silently with her back turned, perfectly framed by the barred, rain-streaked windows. It was a trap. She didn't follow the traveler in. She was waiting for them.
And the horror just rapidly escalates from there as the traveler stumbles out of the ward and into another room. We've gone from dark, quiet decay to a room literally drenched in blood. And over on the wall, a horrific, ghostly visage is screaming right out from the decaying plaster itself. The architecture of Scary Town is completely alive, and it is aggressively malevolent. The environment isn't just a spooky backdrop, guys. It's an active participant in the traveler's psychological destruction.
But I gotta say, the most chilling detail in that hospital room is the message left for the traveler. Scrawled across the wall in these massive bloody letters are the words, "I saw you." This isn't random violence, this is deeply personal. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that these entities are actively watching, tracking, and just toying with their prey. It completely shatters any lingering hope our traveler had of slipping through the town unnoticed. They've been the focal point of this nightmare since the literal second they arrived at midnight.
Section 4. The Run Tunnel.
Panic completely takes over now. The traveler realizes the buildings above ground belong entirely to the entities. So, in a blind, frantic bid for survival, they seek the only path left: underground. Take a breath. Hold it. Just imagine the absolute, jagged silence of the dark down below. When you're running for your life in the pitch black, there is really only one rule. Don't look back.
And here is exactly why. Descending into this abandoned railway tunnel, the claustrophobic dread is just palpable. The cement walls are smeared with frantic, blood-red warnings screaming, "Run, run, run!" But if you look dead ahead down the tracks, despite fleeing from the hospital, despite descending deep into the earth, the woman in white is already there, waiting patiently in the gloom. Those run warnings, they aren't survival instructions. They're a cruel mockery of the traveler's futile effort.
The crucial takeaway from this whole intercept is perfectly summarized right here in this grim little survival guide. Step 1, run. Step 2, keep running. Step 3, realize it's entirely futile. The broadcaster is basically showing us that in Scary Town, motion does not equal progress. Every single frantic step our traveler took only led them exactly where the town wanted them to be.
Section 5. No escape from here. As the static starts to rise on our frequency and the traveler's panicked breathing totally fades into the dark, we get this cinematic warning we won't soon forget. The entity is roaming the wet, moonlit streets, standing boldly beneath a towering Gothic clock tower, and there's this massive, bloody sign reading, "Welcome to Scary Town, leave before dark." But as we've learned from our traveler's doomed timeline, if you're reading that sign under the moonlight, it is already much, much too late. You aren't a visitor anymore. You are a permanent resident of the ruins.
So we've thoroughly decoded the architectural decay, the psychological torture, and the inescapable loop of this horrific destination. But as the broadcaster's glowing red eyes fade out into the static, I've got to leave you with one final provocative question. As you sit there right now listening to this explainer, is the static on your speakers getting just a little bit louder? Tell me, do you hear the signal? Keep learning, stay curious, and whatever you do, don't look behind you.